Hi, I'm Lena Rao. Welcome to Crunchweek. I'm joined by my colleagues Colleen Taylor and Ryan Lawler. We're going to be discussing this week's most interesting stories, and we've got a lot on the table to talk about. I want to talk about, I guess, probably one of the biggest stories of the week. Facebook announced search, social search. Colleen, you were actually at the event. So tell us, what was the vibe like when he announced search? I mean, because there was a lot of talk of, is it going to be mobile? What other product announcements?
There was a lot of talk on TechCrunch about what these things could possibly be, and many of our things were wrong, but Josh Constine did actually get it right. He kind of said that better places search, better interest search, all these things, and it ended up all being in this one product called Graph Search. Yeah, I was there at Facebook's headquarters in Menlo Park, and Zuck came out, and I think it was surprising. It's definitely, this is a big focus for them. They've even changed the logo out on their sign in front of the headquarters. It used to be a like, and now it's a sort of three circles. Oh. And they called this their third tier, I guess, newsfeed, timeline. The
pillars, right? The
pillars, yeah. 3 pillars. And so that's their new logo on their headquarters. So this is they want this to be a big deal because they look at it as newsfeed, timeline, and now graph search. Zuck, the one thing that he was so focused on saying early on was that this is not web search. This is something else. We have a lot of respect for web search. They've partnered with Bing, and that partnership is even stronger now to pick up the web search things. But he was very keen to say that. I guess they definitely didn't want to make it seem like they were trying to get into, I guess, Google's main space.
So the example is you'd be able to find places or people who like certain things or places that certain people like?
Yeah, so it's all based on your graph information. And so what I thought, I wrote a story that places really shines on this. It's supposed to be, you can find interests, you can find services, you can find things, I guess, but you can find other people. So some people looked at this as a dating engine more than anything. That was an example that they used at the event on Monday a few times.
Or as you said, maybe a Yelp competitor.
And that's what I thought was the most lucrative, especially section, because the dating thing is great. Oh, I can find friends of mine who went to Stanford and are single or something. But the real place where they can make money is restaurants, cafes, businesses, dentists, things like that. So yeah, I think this is really emerging as, if nothing else, it's sort of a Yelp competitor. But like all social products, this is only as good as the information that's on it. And, I have Graph Search now on my profile. I wouldn't say that it's the best in terms of searching for a restaurant that I might like. Maybe my friends don't contribute as much to ratings and things like that as other people's friends. I think it all just depends on how active your graph is.
Well, Wall Street didn't really respond that positively to the launch. I mean, the stock is down. It had hit a high previous to the launch, but it dropped below $30 a share, I believe.
Yeah, it just closed the week at $29.66. So yeah, and it was funny because that day during the announcement, I was there with Josh Constine and Drew Olenoff. We were reporting on it, and we kind of had this graph set up of Facebook stock and Google stock to see, and they
Which one went up and down?
Yeah, and they were definitely, it seems like the stock market is still trying to figure this out.
Right.
So how long before it actually becomes available? That was the thing. Like, you have it, the reporters that were there have it, but when do regular people like me get it?
Yeah, this is one question that I know that Josh had Tom Stocky and Lars Rasmussen, the two leaders of the project, here to talk about it. I mean, it sounded like a gradual rollout. They were not specific on that. It seems to me like this is a big infrastructure problem, and I'm not sure how much Josh asked them about that. I'm sure he'll be posting the story here soon. But it seemed like a big infrastructure problem, so more than anything, it might be that. They want everybody's search to be quick, and it's a big challenge.
Well, it should be interesting to see what their future plans are. I mean, there's a lot of layering they could do with advertising, and I have a feeling that this is just the beginning of a pretty big maybe product push for them. So
agreed.
Ryan, you had an interesting take on a story with Netflix this week, right?
Right, yeah, Netflix, and it's getting into another fight with the cable companies. It seems like this happens.
They just can't seem to get
Yeah,
along.
yeah, every couple of months or at least once a year there's a big fight. So this is around Netflix's Open Connect technology, and the background on this is sometime late last fall, Netflix announced this technology, which it's basically a caching box, which ISPs can plug into their networks, and then it caches, it stores content closer to the end user, and there's also a sort of a peering component connecting directly with Netflix to enable, faster load times. And basically, the big thing is, though, it makes sending video cheaper for Netflix, because it doesn't have to pay for CDN. It doesn't have to route it all over the internet. It just has a direct connection to the ISP. And part of what you get if you're an ISP that rolls this out is your subscribers will be able to get Super HD or 3D video, which has sort of a higher bandwidth component than its regular video. So this week, Time Warner Cable basically complained that Netflix was providing preferential treatment to ISPs that had deployed these boxes. It's kind of interesting because for a long time, Netflix was crying foul over net neutrality. Certain ISPs were making their video streams not count against bandwidth caps or data caps, stuff like that. So it was kind of a big issue.
So is this a lawsuit yet, or is it just kind of public?
No, it's not a lawsuit. It's just like public, saber rattling, like people pointing fingers at each other, saying, you're not treating our subscribers fair. We can handle the traffic. But ultimately, one of the issues that Netflix has is that all of these cable companies are complaining. The streaming video is clogging their networks.
Right.
It counts for like a quarter of all peak bandwidth traffic at peak data traffic at peak time. So, it's kind of like Time Warner Cable probably wouldn't want all of that data traveling over their network anyway. But that was sort of my take on it. I don't know.
Well,
I feel like that's really geeky. Does anyone else care?
No, it is a little geeky.
I don't know.
It is very geeky.
You guys seem in shock. Like I was just speaking to you in French for the last 5 minutes.
No,
I think you well, Ryan, you're expert in this field,
right.
And so some of this terminology, maybe Colleen and I are sort of trying to process it.
Basically, everybody likes Netflix except for the cable companies. Cable companies see it as competitive. They don't want to make life easy for Netflix.
Right.
And,
which happens in so many different industries.
Right,
but this one is particularly interesting because they're kind of butting heads now in more ways than one.
Right.
It's the content, it's now the data.
Right. And so, and there's also the component where, well, if we're going to put this box in, then do we have to put a box in for Amazon or for for Hulu or all the other providers, and no one wants to do that.
Right. Well, keep us updated on what's happening with that.
I'll try to put it in English next time.
The last story I think we want to talk about was sort of something that related to our jobs as journalists, but
insidery.
It's a little insidery. CNET and CBS, the parent company of CNET, had a little bit of a scuffle, I guess, if that's what you could call it, around CES, because I guess the short story is that CNET had voted for a product that was produced by Dish Network as the best of CES, their best of CES, and unfortunately, before they published the results, CBS, the parent company, said that they could not have that particular product in the running for best of CES because the CBS is in current, I guess, litigation with Dish Networks, the developer of this gadget. So totally not, in terms of editorial independence, basically kind of showing that CNET doesn't have any. And it was a big deal because one of CNET's, pretty well-known reporters, Greg Sandoval, quit over that issue. So what do you think about it?
I think it's interesting because it shows, The Verge did a great report on this, so kudos to The Verge. They got this exclusive on what actually happened behind the scenes here. But it's funny that Les Moonves, who's the CEO of CBS, it really came from him. You know, he was very mad about Dish Networks, and he's part of the litigation. And he called up the executive editor at CNET and said, you guys can't give the award to them. And so this is what happens when business side meddles in editorial side. And, you know, I don't think that a lot of these suits really realize that you can't really shut up reporters that easily.
Right.
So,
well, this also goes back to what the product is, which is, you know, it's a DVR. And last year Dish announced this product, the Hopper, which basically allows you to skip commercials. So that's what the lawsuit is all about.
Right.
Is that like CBS is pissed off that
Right,
Dish is letting
that's
how they make their money.
Yeah.
Right. You know, so they came out with an updated version, which also allows you to it has Sling technology built in, so it allows you to stream live and DVR'd content to your devices wherever they are. So, you know, that's another issue that the broadcasters don't like either. And I think part of the interesting thing about this is that it comes down to the point where, like, technology is moving faster than the business decisions from the networks are comfortable with. That's really what it comes down to.
Well, it's also, I mean, it's sort of interesting from CBS's point of view. I mean, this is sort of one of the oldest, I guess, media companies that, you know, the media company of Edward Murrow, you know, you've got to think that they know about ethics in journalism, or at least they have some experience in that. And it's almost like a slap in the face for CNET. Clearly they don't see CNET as maybe this, you know, they're not a journalistic entity. I don't know. It just, that's the way that it came across to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they would have done this with CBS News.
That's right.
You know, but CBS Interactive or CNET is fine to mess with.
Yeah,
it seems kind of strange.
That seems sort of odd to me.
And I thought it was interesting because John Biggs, our East Coast editor who does a lot of gadget reviews, he said, in a way, this just kind of shows it's good that this got out, and this stuff always gets out, and a big complaint when there's gadget journalism is, you know, you're always going to have a commenter or critic say, oh, well, they just paid you off. You know, you just gave the iPhone a good review because Apple is paying you or something. And this shows that there's no secret cabal. There's no, you know, payola going on 99% of the time, and when there is, then there's a firestorm.
Well, I hate to say it, and I mean, I tweeted about this week. I mean, you know, if we're going to talk about editorial integrity, the problem for me wasn't that, you know, CBS was calling the shots over CNET. It was that this product was voted best of CES. I mean, it's, you know, to begin with, it's an okay product, but I don't think it was the best thing that I saw personally, like over the course of the week. And I'm not sure it deserved the award. You know,
it kind of made me think twice. It's like, what? That was it? Like, out of all the phones and the
TVs,
that's right, the connected
all the cool
TVs.
stuff that was there.
Yeah.
You know,
the strollers, there's some, I guess, some interesting robot-controlled strollers. Baby strollers.
I didn't see that.
I'm not excited about that.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have a child. Well, anyway, I think that it's definitely one of those stories that we're probably all going to like look back onto, and maybe, you know, this will be something interesting for CNET.
Oh, I can't wait for Alexia's story the first time AOL tries to tell us what we can.
That's right. Watch out. Yeah. But we should wrap things up, and thank you for joining us, and tune in next week.